That night still feels like the moment everything began to shift. The quiet breaking point when love, loyalty, and trust started to crumble without a sound. It wasn't a scene from a film or a story spun for sympathy. It was my reality. One ordinary evening, a single encounter with a stranger changed everything I thought I knew about myself. It started without warning. Rain tapped softly against the window, its rhythm echoing the heaviness inside my chest. I sat there, staring at the blur of city lights, trying to remember when my relationship had stopped feeling alive. It wasn't bad, just still, predictable, and empty in a way that was hard to name. We had grown comfortable in all the wrong ways. You know that quiet ache that settles in when everything seems fine from the outside, yet deep inside, a whisper insists something's missing. That was my life. I didn't realize what I was searching for until I met him. A stranger, younger, full of energy, with eyes that somehow carried light even on the darkest day. Our meeting felt accidental, though maybe it wasn't. Life has a way of testing us through the people we never expect. His smile caught me off guard, genuine, warm, almost dangerous in its sincerity. In that instant, the rest of the world faded into the background. It began innocently enough. Small talk, harmless jokes, a few messages that seemed ordinary. But it's never just that, is it? Emotional storms rarely begin with thunder. They start as whispers, a laugh that lasts too long, a text sent too late. I kept telling myself it was nothing, just friendship. But my heart knew better. It betrayed me each time his name appeared on my screen. My smiles lingered longer than they should have. Without realizing it, I started comparing him to the man waiting at home, the one I barely spoke to anymore. That's when guilt began to settle in, quiet but suffocating. Because betrayal doesn't start with touch. It begins in the mind, in those small excuses we make, and in the longing we refuse to name, glances we pretend not to notice. I wish I had recognized it sooner, how something that feels comforting at first can quietly become chaos. What began as a small escape slowly unraveled everything I once believed was solid and safe. He wasn't supposed to matter, but somehow he did. He made me feel seen again, and I didn't realize how dangerous that could be. It's strange how affection can disguise itself as healing. Every message from him felt like oxygen. After years of holding my breath, he asked about my dreams, my fears, questions no one had asked me in so long, and I answered them all, forgetting the walls I had once built to protect myself. At home, the distance grew like a shadow. My partner became quieter, detached. Our conversations turned into checklists, dry, practical, and hollow. The laughter that used to fill our rooms was replaced by an uneasy silence. Each night, the space between us widened, and in that emptiness, my thoughts drifted toward the only person who made me feel alive. I kept telling myself I was in control, that it was harmless, but control was already slipping away. Then came the first real warning. One evening, while I was cooking, my phone buzzed. His name lit up on the screen. My partner glanced up, just for a second, but something in his eyes changed. He didn't speak, yet the silence that followed felt heavier than any argument. That was the moment I knew the walls of secrecy were starting to close in. Days blurred into weeks, filled with quiet paranoia. My phone became both a comfort and a curse. Each message made my heart race. Part excitement, part fear. His tone grew softer, more personal, and then, one night, a message appeared that made my pulse stop. We need to talk. Now, we met at the same cafe where it had all started. He looked different this time, nervous, guarded, his easy confidence replaced by tension. When he finally spoke, his words sliced through me like a blade. "Someone contacted me," he said quietly. "They told me to stay away from you." My stomach dropped as he showed me the screen. Messages filled with warnings. screenshots, photos, and details that only someone close to me could possibly know. When I came home that night, the living room light was already on. My partner was sitting there, waiting. His calmness terrified me more than anger ever could. "Do you want to tell me who he is?" he asked quietly. My voice wouldn't come. He already knew. He had seen the messages, the late-night conversations, every piece of what I thought was hidden. Then he said something that shattered me completely. He had met the stranger before. Months earlier, the man had interviewed at his office. The realization hit like a storm. The person I thought I'd met by chance wasn't a stranger at all. Maybe he knew who I was from the beginning. Maybe it was all planned. Or maybe fate just played a cruel joke. Either way, the illusion of coincidence was gone. My partner stood, his voice trembling but still calm. "You both deserve the truth. Figure out what that is." Then he left. The sound of the door closing was deafening. I stood there, surrounded by silence so heavy it was hard to breathe. My phone buzzed again. A message from him. He wasn't supposed to find out like this. I stared at the words until they blurred. There was nothing left to say. Everything that mattered had already been said, just not by me. Days passed in hollow quiet. My partner moved out for a while. The stranger kept reaching out, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. I didn't want explanations anymore. I didn't want apologies. I needed to face what I had become. It wasn't fate that led me here. It was loneliness. My own need to feel seen, to feel alive. Eventually my partner and I talked again, not to fix what was broken, but to understand it. He told me he still cared, but some fractures never truly heal. I accepted that not every love story ends in anger. Some end in quiet understanding. As for the stranger, he disappeared as suddenly as he had arrived. One day, the messages just stopped. Maybe he moved on. Maybe he finally understood, just like I did, that not every connection is meant to last. Looking back, I realized this wasn't really a story of betrayal. It was a story of awakening, a reminder that when we stop feeling seen, we begin to lose sight of ourselves. Love isn't about passion or escape. It's about honesty, even when it hurts. And sometimes, the people who change us the most aren't the ones who stay. They're the ones who make us see who we truly are when everything else falls away.